Silence is a language, and the strongest men learn how to translate it. My friends, let me break something to you right here at the start. Silence is not peace. Don't fool yourself. Silence is not comfort, and it's definitely not safety. Silence is a test, a battlefield with no sound, where every step you take reveals your truth. Folks, too many men crumble here because they think when things get quiet, the storm is over. But the truth, that's when the storm actually begins. Before I go deeper, do me a favor. Hit that like button, press subscribe, and stay with me until the end, because this is going to shake some illusions you've been living under. Hey folks, imagine this. You're walking into a grand old library, the kind where the air smells like wisdom and the wooden floors creak beneath your feet. It's dead quiet, so quiet you can hear your own breath. At first, you think it's peaceful, but then you realize every step you take echoes across the hall. Every sound is amplified. You can't hide anything. That's exactly what silence does in relationships. It amplifies who you are. It doesn't hide you. It exposes you. Now, here's the lie that most men live by. They think silence means she's calm, that everything's fine. They think if she's not complaining, if she's not arguing, then she must be happy. Wrong. Silence is her microscope. It's her way of watching how you carry yourself when you don't have her words to guide you. And here's the kicker. She's not asking questions, but she's waiting to see your answers. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, and in silence, the color of your thoughts is all she sees. If your thoughts are fear, desperation, or insecurity, she'll see it. If your thoughts are calm, mission-driven and strong, she'll see that too. You can't hide in silence. Let me make it clearer. Imagine you're a captain steering a ship through fog. The crew is silent, the sea is still, but the fog is thick. The men are watching you. Do you panic? Do you lose control and start turning the wheel wildly? Or do you stand tall, keep your eyes on the compass, and command the ship with steady hands? My friends, women test men in exactly the same way. They create the fog of silence, and they watch if you can still steer. Here's the hard truth. Many men fail because they confuse silence with rejection. They assume distance means doom, and so they start chasing, begging, sending paragraphs, blowing up her phone, apologizing for things that don't even exist. What they don't realize is that every desperate action is proof, not that they care, but that they can be controlled. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man who shows he can be controlled. But here's where you rise above, my friends. Silence is not your enemy. It's your arena. It's the place where you prove that your mission is bigger than your mood, that your identity is not up for negotiation, that your focus cannot be stolen by a pause or a test. Epictetus said it best, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And silence is where you either prove your mastery or expose your weakness. So don't look at silence as punishment. Look at it as opportunity. Opportunity to show her and yourself that you are not swayed by every wave, not shaken by every pause, not broken by every quiet spell. Instead, you're the mountain that stands tall, whether the wind howls or the air goes still. Because at the end of the day, folks, women don't want to lead. They want to follow a man whose silence is louder than words, a man who commands respect without begging for it, a man who stays calm when the world goes quiet. So remember this affirmation today. Write it in the comments, show it to yourself, and let the world around you see it too. Silence is power. Say it, live it, breathe it. Silence is power. Now hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay with me because what's coming next will open your eyes even further. Number 1. The delayed response test. People are not disturbed by things, but by the view which they take of them. Epictetus. My friends, let me hit you with this truth. The scariest response isn't anger, it isn't rejection, it isn't even a fight. The scariest response is silence. A silence wrapped in time, a delayed reply. Hours pass, maybe even a full day, and there it is. A message finally arrives. Not a paragraph, not a heartfelt explanation, just a simple line that feels colder than the warmth you're used to. And in that pause, that empty stretch of waiting, your mind becomes the battlefield. Imagine this. You're standing in front of a mirror, but instead of showing your reflection, it shows every fear you've tried to bury. You see yourself waiting by the phone, refreshing the screen, reading old messages to search for clues, convincing yourself you did something wrong. That's what silence does. It doesn't just reflect your face, it reflects your deepest insecurities. And here's the brutal truth. They know it. They know that a delayed response is not about time, it's about tension. It's a quiet probe into your emotional structure. You'll ask yourself questions. Did I say something wrong? Did they lose interest? Are they talking to someone else? And every one of those questions is a tripwire, revealing how fragile or firm your frame really is. The weak man takes the bait. He sends another text. Hey, did you get my message? He adds an emoji, hoping to lighten the mood. He double texts, triple texts, maybe even calls. And what he doesn't realize is that in those frantic actions, he's not chasing clarity, he's signaling collapse. Because when you can't hold yourself in silence, you show that your peace is not your own. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Yet most men flip this upside down. They give power to the outside. They let a typing bubble, a delay or a pause dictate whether they feel confident or broken. Think about it. How can you claim to be strong if your self-worth is in the hands of someone else's reply speed? Now let's cut through the lie. They're not delaying because they're too busy to move their thumbs. Everyone has a moment to reply. They're delaying because they want to see if you'll unravel, if you'll betray your mission, your calm, your focus, all because of an unanswered text. It's not cruelty, it's instinct. It's a test to see if you can stand tall in uncertainty. But I know what you're thinking. Why does it feel so hard? Why can't I just stay calm? Because silence feels like abandonment. It triggers the most primal fear in a man, the fear of being left behind, of not being enough, of being replaced. Our ancestors feared silence in the tribe because silence meant exile, and exile meant death. That's why your heart races, why your palms sweat, why your brain spirals when the phone stays dark. It's not weakness, it's wiring. But here's the challenge. Will you let ancient wiring control you, or will you rewire yourself to stand firm in the face of silence? Picture two men. One hears nothing back for hours. He starts pacing. His stomach churns. He sends 3 more texts, checks her socials, imagines her laughing with someone else. His identity collapses like a sandcastle under a rising tide. Now, picture the other man. The message is delayed. The silence stretches. He feels the sting, yes, but he doesn't flinch. He stays in his world, working, building, training, moving forward. And when the reply finally comes, he doesn't jump like a starving dog thrown scraps. He reads it calmly, responds with equal calm, and continues his life. Which man do you think commands respect? Which man do you think burns in her mind when the night gets quiet? Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." And in silence, your why is tested. If your why is validation, you'll fall apart. If your why is your mission, your growth, your presence, you'll hold steady. That's why silence feels like fire. It burns away the illusion and shows the foundation. And here's the thing, if your foundation is weak, the fire will expose it. But if your foundation is strong, the fire will forge it. So how do you rise? You rise by reframing silence. Instead of seeing it as rejection, see it as a proving ground. Instead of asking, why are they not replying? Ask, what will I do with this moment of space? Will you waste it spiraling in fear, or will you invest it into your purpose? Because every second you hold steady in silence, you grow heavier in their mind. Not desperate, not needy, but unshakable. This is where most men fail. They think presence is about constant availability, but presence is not about being there at every call. Presence is about being so grounded that when you are there, your energy fills the room. And the only way to cultivate that presence is to stop letting silence drain you. So when the message comes late, don't double text, don't chase, don't interrogate. Instead, breathe, ground yourself, return to your mission. Let them feel the weight of your calm. Let them realize that silence does not shrink you, it sharpens you. And when you finally do respond, let it be short, clear, and composed. Because that subtle calm is louder than any desperate noise. Here's the motivation you need to hold on to, my friends. Silence is not the absence of power. It's the stage where power performs best. The question is, will you crumble under the quiet, or will you let the quiet make you unforgettable? Remember this affirmation, write it in the comments, show them, show yourself, and show the world around you. I do not chase silence. Those 4 words, live by them, say it out loud, write it down, own it. I do not chase silence. Because when you can stand tall in the pause, you're no longer waiting for their validation. You're proving that your validation was always yours to begin with. Stay with me, because what's coming next will take you even deeper into the silent tests and show you exactly how to win them all. Number 2, the ambiguous withdrawal test. A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions. Marcus Aurelius. My friends, here's the uncomfortable truth most men don't want to face. The test that really breaks them isn't screaming, it isn't fighting, it isn't even rejection. The test that breaks them is indifference, that quiet, subtle withdrawal. Not total disappearance, not blocked, not a dramatic goodbye. No, just less warmth, shorter replies, fewer emojis, a colder tone, a space you can feel but can't quite measure. And this, my friends, is where most men collapse, because nothing terrifies a man's ego more than ambiguity. Nothing makes him spiral faster than the sense that someone he desires is slipping, slowly, silently, through his hands. Imagine this, you're sitting at a fire, the flames are dancing, the warmth wrapping around you, and then, without warning, the fire doesn't go out, but it flickers lower. It doesn't vanish, but it dims. You're still warm, but not as much as before. And your instinct? You panic. You scramble for more wood. You blow too hard on the embers. You throw everything you have onto the flames, desperate to bring the fire roaring back. But in your desperation, you smother it instead. That's what men do when faced with withdrawal. They panic, they smother, and in trying to fix what isn't broken, they destroy what was still alive. Here's the lie that must be broken. You think the withdrawal means they don't care anymore. You think the shorter replies mean they've found someone else. You think the colder tone means they're done. But the truth? This is not the end. This is the test. It's not about whether they like you. It's about whether you can stay centered when their energy shifts. Because in relationships, folks, attraction is not constant. It ebbs and flows. Sometimes it's fire, sometimes it's embers, and the moment it dips, they're not asking you to fix it. They're checking to see if you can remain steady when the fire is low. They want to see if your mood collapses with theirs. They want to see if your identity is tied to their warmth. They want to know if you'll beg for heat or if you can generate your own. The weak man interprets withdrawal as danger. His thoughts flood with fear. What did I do wrong? Who are they talking to? Why don't they sound the same? And because those thoughts control him, he reacts. He texts faster. He demands reassurance. He asks questions that reek of insecurity. Are you mad at me? Is everything okay? Do you even like me anymore? His fear bleeds through every message, and that fear doesn't reignite attraction. It strangles it. Because nothing is less attractive than a man who needs constant validation just to breathe. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The withdrawal is not the real issue. It's neutral. What matters is your reaction. Do you collapse or do you command yourself? Do you beg or do you breathe? Do you let their silence dictate your worth or do you stay rooted in your own power? Let's strip this to the bone. Why does withdrawal feel so devastating? Because it plays directly into a man's deepest fear: abandonment. Think back to when you were young. The worst punishment wasn't always being yelled at. The worst punishment was being ignored, being given the silent treatment, being left to wonder what you did wrong. That wound never fully leaves, and when you grow into a man, those same triggers lie beneath the surface. When someone you want withdraws, that wound is poked, and you feel like that little boy again, lost, panicked, desperate for approval. And here is where most men fail. They act from that wound instead of acting from their strength. But my friends, this is also where you rise. Withdrawal is not a curse, it's a mirror. It's the fog that shows whether you are a man with his own fire or a man begging to be warmed by someone else's flame. The Stoics would tell you, use this moment. Do not resist it. Do not panic. Use it to prove your sovereignty. Because a man's power isn't shown when everything is smooth. His power is shown when warmth is withheld, and yet he stays warm from within. Let me give you a metaphor. Picture a mountain. The clouds roll in, the sun disappears, the winds whip hard. The mountain doesn't shrink. It doesn't beg for the clouds to move. It doesn't crumble in panic. It remains still, steady, unbothered, because the mountain knows. The clouds pass, the sun returns, the winds shift, but the foundation remains. My friends, you must become the mountain. So what does this look like in practice? When the replies get shorter, don't lengthen yours. When the tone gets colder, don't warm yours to compensate. When the attention dips, don't demand it back. Instead, stay calm. Respond when you choose, with the same energy you had before. If they send one line, you don't need to send 10. If they delay hours, you don't need to collapse in panic. You remain consistent, rooted, firm. Because the message you send in that silence is louder than any word. I am not moved by your mood. I am not defined by your withdrawal. My fire burns with or without your oxygen. And here's the paradox. The less you chase during withdrawal, the more their energy returns. The less you panic, the more they feel your strength. Because while weakness pushes them further away, strength pulls them closer. They may withdraw to test you, but when they see you're unshaken, respect blooms. And respect is the soil where attraction grows. Seneca said, "The greatest blessings of mankind are within us and within our reach." Don't forget that, folks. Your worth was never in their words. Your value was never in their warmth. Your blessings are already within you. Your mission, your focus, your discipline. Withdraw into those. Pour your energy into building yourself. While they pull back, you push forward. And soon enough, they realize what they're dealing with is not a man desperate for affection, but a man whose affection is a reward to be earned. Here's why this is difficult. You've been conditioned your whole life to fix silence, to chase warmth, to panic at withdrawal. But breaking free means rewiring that instinct. It means teaching yourself that not every quiet moment is rejection. Not every shift is doom. Not every cold tone is the end. Sometimes it's just life. Sometimes it's just a test. And if you can breathe through it, you'll prove yourself far stronger than the men who break under it. So the next time you feel it, the coldness, the shorter replies, the ambiguous withdrawal, don't collapse, don't beg, don't smother the fire. Be the man who holds steady, be the mountain, and let them feel the weight of your calm. Remember this affirmation, my friends. Write it in the comments, show it to yourself, and show it to the world around you. I am the mountain. Say it, live it, breathe it. I am the mountain. Because when you embody that truth, no silence can move you, no withdrawal can break you, and no test can undo you. And the beautiful paradox is this: the moment you stop fearing withdrawal, it stops controlling you. And that's when you win. Stay with me, because what's coming next will dig even deeper into the silent strategies they use and reveal the exact ways you can turn every quiet test into proof of your unshakable power. Number 3, the strategic favor test. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. My friends, one of the most subtle yet devastating tests doesn't come wrapped in arguments or long silences. It comes wrapped in sweetness, in a smile, in a voice so soft and casual you almost forget what's happening. It's the small favor test. The quiet, innocent ask that appears harmless but is timed like a dagger. And unless you see through it, you'll mistake surrender for love. Picture this: you're locked in, deep in your mission. Maybe you're working on a project, grinding through a workout, mapping out your future. You're focused. The world has melted away, and you're in the zone. That's when they appear, smiling, gentle, leaning casually against the doorway. "Hey, can you help me with something real quick?" They phrase it sweetly. The request sounds tiny. "Can you grab this for me? Can you take a quick look? Can you call someone for me real fast?" And on the surface, it's nothing. A minute of your time, no big deal. But my friends, here's what you must understand. This is not about the favor. This is about the frame. This is about who governs your attention. Because in life, nothing is more sacred than where you place your focus. The person who controls their focus controls their future. And so, when someone interrupts that focus, it's not about convenience, it's about hierarchy. Will you drop your world the second they smile, or will you hold your ground and show that your mission cannot be hijacked by affection? Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine you are a king on his throne, leading a council. The maps of your empire are laid before you. Every decision you make is shaping the destiny of your kingdom. Suddenly, someone walks into the throne room, waves their hand and says, "Can you run this errand real quick?" What kind of king abandons the throne mid-council just because someone asked sweetly? Not a king at all. He becomes a servant dressed in royal robes. And yet, this is exactly what most men do. They hear the request, and without thinking, they snap shut the laptop, stand up, and obey. Of course, anything you need. They feel proud for being helpful, believing this is partnership, believing this is love. But beneath the surface, something shifts, because to them it was love, but to the other's subconscious it was collapse. It was the revelation that their discipline, their focus, their mission can all be derailed by a soft tone. And when that realization hits, respect begins to bleed out of the foundation. Slowly, quietly, but relentlessly. Epictetus warned us, "No man is free who is not master of himself. The man who abandons his mission at the wave of a hand is not master of himself. He is master of nothing, and the one who controls his attention is not him, it's them." Not maliciously, not cruelly, but instinctively. They sense it. And once that sense is formed, it cannot be undone with words of reassurance, because attraction is not built on words, it's built on presence. Now you might be asking yourself, but isn't it kind? Isn't it loving to help? Shouldn't I show up when they ask me to? Of course you should help, of course you should support, but timing is everything. The issue is not the act of helping, it's the surrender of your throne. When your focus is deep, when your mission is alive in your hands, to abandon it instantly is not kindness. It's weakness disguised as kindness. And weakness is never attractive. Let me make this painfully clear with another metaphor. Imagine a soldier in battle. His commander gives him a mission: hold the line, protect the flank. The enemy approaches. His heart pounds. His focus sharpens. Just then, someone calls from the sidelines, "Hey, can you grab me some water?" Imagine the soldier dropping his weapon, running off the field to grab a bottle. How ridiculous would that look? How dangerous? The soldier believes he's being helpful, but in reality, he's abandoned his duty. He's exposed his side to attack. That is exactly what a man does when he leaves his mission at the sound of a sweet request. Now, the weak man doesn't see this. He thinks being available at all times proves love. He thinks immediate obedience proves partnership. But my friends, what it really proves is this: his priorities are negotiable. His attention is up for sale. And once others sense that, they cannot trust his spine when real storms come. If a casual request can fracture his focus, what happens when life demands true strength? Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." So ask yourself, what is your ambition? To be the man who bends at every whim, or the man whose mission is unshakable? Because here's the paradox. The man who cannot be moved by sweetness is the man who becomes magnetic. His resistance doesn't repel, it compels. It makes others lean in, makes them wonder, makes them respect. Because a fortress is not beautiful for its walls. It's beautiful because it cannot be breached. So what does strength look like in this moment? It looks like stillness. They ask sweetly. You smile, you breathe, you keep your eyes steady, and you say calmly, "I'll help you in 10 minutes. I'm focused right now." No apologies, no guilt, no anger, just calm authority. And watch what happens. They may pout, they may act annoyed for a second, but beneath that, something ancient stirs. Respect, hunger, fascination. Because what you've just shown is frame control at the deepest level. You've proven that affection cannot hijack your compass, that your mission has gravity, that you cannot be pulled off course by the softness of a request. And make no mistake, my friends, that is the ultimate test. Not whether you can lift heavy weights, not whether you can fight off an enemy, but whether you can hold your focus in the face of temptation, because discipline is the true measure of strength. And when others see a man who will not betray his mission for their whims, paradoxically, that is when they desire him most. because deep down they do not want to lead. They want to follow a man who can't be moved. So remember this: kindness without strength is not kindness, it is surrender. Help when you choose, support when it aligns with your frame, but never abandon your throne at the wave of a hand, because the man who does that is not a king, he's a servant dressed in silk. My friends, write this in the comments. Let the world see it. Let yourself see it every time your phone lights up with a request. My mission comes first. Say it out loud. Live it. Breathe it. My mission comes first. Because when you live by that truth, every favor becomes a chance to prove your strength. Every interruption becomes an opportunity to demonstrate your discipline. And every test becomes fuel for attraction instead of a trap for collapse. Stay with me, because what comes next will shake you even harder: the jealousy bait. The moment they drop another name into your space just to watch if your ego cracks. And my friends, that test has destroyed more men than silence ever will. Get ready. Number 4. The jealousy bait test. He who controls others may be powerful, but he who has mastered himself is mightier still. My friends, here's one of the most ancient and dangerous tests of them all: the jealousy bait. This one doesn't come with raised voices or obvious challenges. It comes quietly, casually, like a passing breeze. You're out together, maybe at dinner, maybe scrolling through social media, maybe just relaxing side by side. Everything feels smooth, calm, even warm. Then suddenly, without breaking rhythm, they drop it. A name, a story, a subtle reference. Yeah, I used to talk to someone like that. Or, my friend was saying. Or maybe even more direct: I used to have a thing with a guy like that. They don't dwell on it. They don't explain it. They just let it hang in the air as if it were nothing. But my friends, it is not nothing. It is a spark dropped into dry grass. And now they're watching carefully, not because they want to hurt you, not because they want to brag, but because they want to see if your frame can withstand fire. Here's the question that echoes in your mind the second you hear it. Why did they bring that up? Do they still think about that person? Am I being compared? And suddenly your heart is racing. Your thoughts spiral. Your imagination paints pictures you didn't ask for, memories you weren't a part of, shadows you never wanted to compete against. This is jealousy in its purest form. And most men, when faced with this, crumble. They shift in their seat, their jaw tightens, their tone sharpens slightly as they ask, "Oh yeah? Who was he?" They pretend it's casual, but it's not. They start interrogating. They ask questions, looking for hidden meaning in every word, every smirk, every pause. And as they ask, their power drains, because in that moment, they're no longer commanding the frame. They're chasing ghosts. Let's call this what it really is: collapse. Because when you fall into the jealousy trap, you're telling them that their past owns part of you. You're telling them that the shadows of people long gone still haunt you. You're telling them that your confidence only works when the spotlight is clear, but fades when it's clouded by competition. And that, my friends, is not strength. That is weakness disguised as passion. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In this case, if you want to keep your frame, you must be content to hear about ghosts and not react. To let the name pass through your ears without giving it power. To let them think, even for a moment, that you didn't care enough to ask. Because here's the truth: power is not in chasing answers. Power is in showing that you don't need them. Now, why do they do this? Why drop a name? Why stir the pot? Not because they're cruel, not because they want to see you suffer, but because they need to know if your confidence is real. Anyone can be calm when everything is calm, but only the strong remain calm when storms are hinted at. By mentioning someone from their past, by planting the seed of competition, they're measuring your inner hierarchy. They want to know, are you secure enough to stand tall in ambiguity, or will you collapse at the suggestion of another man's shadow? Let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a lion in the wild. He lies calmly under a tree, resting, his mane glowing in the sun. Another lion's roar echoes in the distance. The weak lion immediately jumps, paces, growls nervously, tries to prove himself, tries to show he's still the alpha. But the true king, he doesn't move, he doesn't flinch. He knows his presence is enough. His stillness alone communicates his dominance. And that, my friends, is exactly how you must handle jealousy bait. When they drop the name, don't chase it, don't interrogate, don't let your eyes dart or your tone crack. Instead, smirk, sip your drink, look at them with steady eyes and say something light, playful, dismissive. Maybe, poor guy. Bet he still thinks about you. And then, change the subject, redirect, return to what you were doing. Not performatively aloof, not fake, but authentically unbothered. Because the truth is this, their past does not define you. Their past does not threaten you. Their past only confirms what you already know. They were searching until they found you. And watch what happens when you respond this way. Instead of seeing a man unravel, they see a man immune to shadows, immune to ghosts, immune to the ancient trap of jealousy. And that immunity is magnetic. Because what they were looking for wasn't insecurity, they were looking for sovereignty. They were looking for proof that you are not a man controlled by outside forces. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." My friends, jealousy bait is the ultimate outside event. It's designed to poke at your insecurities, to throw you off balance, to make you give away power. But the moment you realize that power is in your mind, not in their words, you win. Now, here's why this is difficult. Because in your heart, the fire is real. You hear the name, and deep inside, you feel that sting. You feel your ego roar, demanding answers, demanding reassurance. But strength isn't the absence of those feelings. Strength is mastery over them. Strength is breathing through the fire and responding with calm when every nerve in your body wants to react. That is the true test. And here's the paradox. When you don't take the bait, you flip the test back onto them. Instead of you being the one spiraling, they start spiraling. Why didn't he care? Why didn't he ask? Why wasn't he jealous? Is he too confident? Has he already decided I'm not worth worrying about? Suddenly, the game changes. They're no longer testing you. You're testing them. And that, my friends, is power. Because attraction doesn't grow from desperation. Attraction grows from mystery. And when you stay calm in the face of jealousy bait, you become a riddle. You become the man they can't quite figure out. And in the psychology of desire, mystery is magnetic. So here's the motivation I want you to burn into your mind. When they mention someone from their past, when they drop a name just to see if your mask slips, don't take the bait. Be the lion under the tree. Be the king who doesn't flinch. Be the fortress that cannot be shaken by echoes. Because when you hold your ground, respect blooms. And where respect blooms, attraction follows. Write this in the comments right now. Let the world see it. Let yourself be reminded every time jealousy knocks at your door. I do not compete with ghosts. Say it out loud. Live it. Breathe it. I do not compete with ghosts. Because the moment you embody that truth, the test flips. The bait loses its power. And you rise, not just as a man who passes the test, but as a man who no longer even plays it. Stay with me, because what comes next is even more insidious than jealousy bait, the cold silence of withdrawal, the test where they disappear, not to leave, but to see if you'll chase. And that, my friends, is the battlefield where most men are defeated before the war even begins. Number 5. The silent withdrawal test. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Marcus Aurelius. My friends, let me tell you the most dangerous test of all. It's not the name they drop from their past. It's not the sweet request that interrupts your focus. It's not even the delayed reply that makes your chest tighten. No, the most dangerous test is silence, withdrawal. Not the loud kind with doors slamming and accusations flying. No, the quiet kind, the subtle kind, the kind that doesn't announce itself but seeps in slowly, like a fog that makes you doubt if you're still walking the same road. One day, everything feels warm, the replies are quick, the energy is flowing, the laughter is alive, and then something shifts. The replies come slower, the emojis fade, the tone shortens, not gone, just less. Not absent, just colder. It's not anger, it's not a fight, it's something worse. Ambiguity. You don't know what's wrong, but you feel it. And it eats at you. Let me paint you a metaphor. Imagine you're walking across a frozen lake. At first, the ice feels solid beneath your feet. Every step, every stride feels safe. But then, out of nowhere, the ice begins to creak. You don't fall through, but the cracks echo in your ears. Every step becomes heavier, slower, more uncertain. That is exactly what silent withdrawal feels like. You're not drowning yet, but you hear the cracks, and those cracks echo in your mind louder than any scream ever could. This is where the weak man breaks. He cannot tolerate the ambiguity. He feels the coldness and immediately thinks, I've done something wrong. They've lost interest. They're slipping away. I need to fix this before it's too late. And so he panics. He texts faster. He sends double messages. He calls. He asks, Are you okay? Is something wrong? Did I do something? He pours more wood onto the fire, hoping to bring back the warmth. But instead of reigniting attraction, he smothers it. Because what he doesn't realize is this. The test was never about the coldness. It was about his reaction to it. Marcus Aurelius warned us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Withdrawal is an outside event. It is not within your control, but your reaction is. And this is where most men give away their power. Not because they were abandoned, but because they abandoned themselves the moment silence arrived. Why is this test so devastating? Because it taps into the deepest fear of every man, being unwanted. It resurrects the wounds of childhood, the moments when silence meant punishment, when being ignored felt like death. It reactivates the ancient wiring that told us, to be left behind by the tribe is to die alone in the wilderness. That fear is primal. And when someone you care about pulls away, even slightly, that fear wakes up screaming. And most men obey it. But my friends, this is exactly where the Stoic rises. This is where you prove that your worth is not in someone else's warmth. This is where you show that you are not a candle flickering in the wind, but a torch that burns regardless of the weather. Silence does not kill you. It reveals you. It reveals whether your calm is genuine or a performance. It reveals whether your focus is internal or external. It reveals whether you are a fortress or a sandcastle. Let me give you another metaphor. Imagine a storm rolling in. The sky darkens, the winds howl, the rain slaps against your skin. Most men, caught in the storm, run for shelter. They panic, they shout, they lose control. But the Stoic stands firm. He feels the rain, he feels the wind, but he does not flee. Because he knows storms pass, and the one thing that must not break is his center. Silent withdrawal is that storm. And the man who chases reassurance, who begs for answers, who lets panic dictate his moves, he is the man running blindly in the rain. But the man who breathes, who holds, who stays rooted in his mission, that is the man who becomes unforgettable. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This test is not about them, it's about you. Are you master of yourself when their energy fades, or are you a puppet whose strings are pulled by every cold reply? Because here's the brutal truth: the man who cannot hold steady in silence will never be respected. They may comfort him, they may assure him, but deep down, respect dies where desperation begins. So what does strength look like in this test? It looks like restraint, it looks like discipline, it looks like refusing to panic when the replies slow down. It looks like carrying on with your day, your mission, your purpose, as if nothing has changed. Not out of arrogance, not out of indifference, but out of sovereignty. Because when you keep moving forward, when you keep investing in yourself, when you refuse to collapse into neediness, you communicate the one message that ignites respect. I am not defined by your silence. And here's the paradox: the more you chase during withdrawal, the colder they become, but the more you hold steady, the more they feel pulled back toward you. Why? Because calmness is magnetic, composure is rare. In a world where most men panic at the first hint of distance, the man who does not chase becomes a riddle, a fortress. And nothing is more attractive than a fortress that cannot be moved by storms. Let me give you one final metaphor. Think of a tree in the forest. The wind blows, the branches sway, but the roots remain. The tree does not chase the wind, does not beg the rain to stop. It simply stands. And because it stands, it survives. Because it stands, it grows. You must become that tree, rooted, immovable, alive in silence. So the next time you feel the withdrawal, the shorter texts, the colder tone, the fading warmth, don't crumble, don't chase, don't let fear write your story. Instead, breathe, hold your frame, invest deeper into yourself. Let your silence answer theirs, because when you do, you flip the script. They begin to wonder, why didn't he chase? Why didn't he panic? Why didn't he collapse? And in that wondering, respect is reborn. Remember this affirmation. Write it in the comments. Let the world see it. Let yourself live it. I do not chase silence. Say it. Own it. Repeat it until it becomes your core. I do not chase silence. Because when you embody that truth, you are no longer a prisoner of their withdrawal. You become the mountain, the fortress, the torch. And, my friends, nothing is more magnetic than the man who cannot be moved by absence. Stay with me, because what's coming next is a battlefield even more dangerous than silence itself, the public test, the moment they challenge you in front of others, where the entire tribe is watching, and how you respond there decides not just attraction, but leadership itself. Number 6. The public spotlight test. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. My friends, here's the battlefield that exposes more men than any private silence or quiet test ever could, the public spotlight. Because when you're alone with someone, it's easier to keep calm, easier to mask weakness, easier to convince yourself that you're in control. But when you're out in public, at a dinner, a party, a gathering, even just around mutual friends, suddenly the test shifts. It's no longer just about you and them. It's about how you hold yourself when all eyes are watching. And this test, subtle as it may be, determines whether you are a leader to be respected or a follower to be dismissed. It doesn't come with open hostility. It doesn't arrive with arguments or explosions. It arrives quietly, playfully, even with a smile. Maybe they tease you about something in front of others, your outfit, your habits, your choice of words. Maybe they question a decision you made, not aggressively, but with a playful smirk. Maybe they interrupt you mid-story and poke fun at a detail. On the surface, it's harmless. Everyone laughs. They act like it's no big deal. But my friends, beneath the surface, this is a surgical test. They are not testing your humor. They are testing your spine. Here's the hard truth. In social settings, status is currency. Respect is traded in silence, posture, tone, and presence. The one who commands the room is the one who is followed. The one who falters becomes background noise. And when someone teases you or tests you publicly, they're really asking, can you still lead when the lights are bright? Can you still stand tall when your authority is challenged in front of the tribe? Now let me give you a metaphor. Imagine a lion walking through the savannah. His pride follows him. His presence alone commands order. Suddenly, another lion, smaller, not as strong, lets out a playful growl, testing him. The pride watches. Does the king snap angrily, exposing insecurity? Does he retreat, pretending not to hear, exposing weakness? Or does he remain calm, steady, letting a small smirk cross his face, reminding everyone that he doesn't need to overreact to prove his dominance? That moment decides whether the pride continues to follow or begins to doubt. Most men, when tested in public, fail one of two ways. The first is defensiveness. They feel embarrassed by the tease, so they try to explain themselves. They justify, they overtalk, they make excuses. Oh well, that's not really what happened. They try to smooth things over, but every word betrays insecurity. Every justification communicates, I care what you all think. Please don't see me as weak. And ironically, that desperation for approval is the very weakness that kills their presence. The second way men fail is nervous laughter and self-deprecation. They play along too hard. They laugh at themselves, hoping to win points by being the easygoing guy. They think this shows confidence, but often it shows the opposite. It shows that they're willing to lower themselves just to keep the peace. And the problem with this is simple. Respect never grows in the soil of self-mockery. Attraction cannot bloom where leadership dies. Epictetus said, "It is better to be silent and be thought a fool than to open your mouth and remove all doubt." In the public spotlight, silence or controlled words becomes your weapon. When teased, when tested, the strong man does not collapse into explanation or beg for approval. He remains composed. He acknowledges without surrendering. He replies with calm wit, not aggression. Something as simple as "noted" or "I prefer making my own mistakes" said with steady eye contact and a relaxed posture, shifts the entire room. It shows you heard, but you are not rattled. You engaged, but you did not submit. Let me give you another metaphor. Imagine a fortress on a hill. The enemy throws small stones at the walls. The weak fortress crumbles at the smallest impact. The insecure fortress fires back every time, wasting resources on stones that could never breach its walls. But the strong fortress, it doesn't even flinch. The stones bounce off, the walls remain. That's the image you must embody when tested in public. Not reactive, not defensive, immovable. Why do they test you in public at all? Because public perception matters. They want to see if your authority is situational or absolute. Are you only strong in private, where no one can see you falter? Or are you strong under pressure, with witnesses, when your frame is truly on the line? because anyone can act calm in private, but true power reveals itself when the spotlight burns hottest. This is why it feels so hard, because when you're in public, your ego is louder. You can feel everyone's eyes. You imagine their judgment. You think, if I don't defend myself, they'll think I'm weak. If I don't explain, they'll misunderstand me. But my friends, strength isn't about controlling every perception. It's about commanding your own presence. Because here's the paradox: the less you try to control what others think, the more control you have over how they see you. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. Applied here, the best response to public testing is not to react like the weak man. Don't scramble for approval. Don't lash out defensively. Don't turn nervousness into self-deprecation. Instead, be the man who doesn't need the room to validate him. Be the man who validates himself. And that self-validation, that calm presence, is what makes the room validate you. Now let's talk about the psychological shift that happens when you pass this test. At first, they may have teased you playfully, expecting you to stumble. They may have been curious to see if your spine would bend. But when you remain steady, when you hold eye contact, when you reply calmly and reassert your frame, something inside them changes. Respect flickers, admiration grows, because deep down, everyone hungers for leadership. Everyone longs to be in the presence of someone who doesn't crack under pressure, and in that moment, you become more than just another man in the room. You become the axis the room quietly orbits around. And here's the beauty: you don't need to dominate anyone to prove it. You don't need to get loud. You don't need to cut them down. True leaders don't prove themselves with aggression. They prove themselves with restraint. They win not by fighting every challenge, but by showing that they cannot be shaken by them. So when the public spotlight test comes, when they poke fun at you, when they throw that playful jab, when the room watches to see how you'll react, stand tall, breathe, smile, respond with calm authority. Let them know without needing to explain that you are not here to win approval. You are here to be yourself. Write this in the comments. Let it burn into your mind. Let it echo in your posture. I do not flinch. Say it, live it, breathe it. I do not flinch. Because when you embody that truth, every public test becomes an opportunity to show not just them, but everyone watching, that your power is not borrowed, not conditional, not fragile. It is yours. It is unshakable. Stay with me, because what comes next is even more delicate than the public spotlight, the emotional probe. The moment they softly ask, "Are you okay? You seem different." And in that moment, your ability to balance strength with vulnerability will decide everything. That's the battlefield where many men either overshare and collapse, or shut down and lose intimacy. And my friends, that is where we go next. Number 7, the emotional probe test. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. My friends, let me take you to the final frontier of these quiet tests, the emotional probe. Unlike the public spotlight, unlike the bait of jealousy, unlike the cold silence of withdrawal, this one is softer. It doesn't come with sharp edges or playful jabs. It comes with lowered eyes, a calm voice, and words designed to reach past your armor. Are you okay? Or, you feel different lately. On the surface, it looks like care. It feels like affection. But make no mistake, this too is a test, not of your kindness, but of your strength. Because here's the paradox: everyone craves emotional connection, yet emotional collapse destroys attraction faster than anything else. And this probe, the soft question, the gentle concern, is their way of measuring whether your vulnerability is a fortress or a flood. Will you open the gates just enough to let them feel the man inside? Or will you swing them wide open and drown them in weakness? Or worse, will you lock them shut so tightly they feel excluded forever? Imagine this metaphor. Think of a garden surrounded by high stone walls. The walls are strong, ancient, immovable, but inside there's beauty, trees, flowers, water flowing quietly. Occasionally you open the gate just enough for someone to step inside, to glimpse what's within. That glimpse creates intimacy. But if you leave the gates wide open, every stranger walks in, tramples the flowers, drinks the water, and the beauty dies. And if you never open the gates at all, the garden becomes forgotten, lifeless in isolation. The emotional probe is their way of checking. Are you a fortress with a hidden garden, or a fortress with nothing inside? Most men fail this test in two ways. The first is oversharing. The moment they're asked, "Are you okay?" they break open like a dam. They pour out every fear, every doubt, every insecurity. They tell stories of pain, not to connect, but to beg for sympathy. Their emotions flood the room, and instead of creating intimacy, they create weight. And in that moment, attraction dies. Because the one who overshares proves he cannot regulate himself. He's asking someone else to do it for him. The second failure is shutting down. The weak man fears exposure so much that he builds walls too thick. He hears the question and says, "I'm fine," with no detail, no honesty, no life behind it. He hides, he retreats, he locks the gates entirely, and in doing so, he communicates not strength, but fear. He sends the message, "I cannot be seen," and eventually that breeds distance, because intimacy cannot survive in darkness. So what does strength look like here? It looks like calibrated vulnerability, not flooding, not hiding, precision. You share a glimpse, real, authentic, but measured. For example, "I've been facing some challenges, but I'm focused on solutions." Or, "Sometimes I get tired, but it doesn't change what I'm building." Short, strong, honest, vulnerability with backbone. That's what creates respect and intimacy at the same time. Seneca said, "No man was ever wise by chance, and no man maintains attraction by accident." You must be intentional. Emotional honesty is not weakness when controlled. It is power. It shows that you are human, but not broken. That you can feel, but you are not consumed by your feelings. That you can open the gate, but you can close it again with discipline. Let's take another metaphor. Think of fire. Fire can warm, inspire, and draw people close, but if it grows uncontrolled, it burns the house down. Your emotions are the same. Share them as fire in the hearth, not fire consuming the walls. When they probe, when they ask softly, give them the warmth of your flame, but never let it rage unchecked. That warmth makes them feel safe. That controlled honesty makes them trust you. And that balance is magnetic. Now here's why this test is harder than the others. Because it plays on your deepest longing, the longing to be seen. Every man wants to be understood. Every man wants to lay his head down and know that someone truly knows him. And so, when asked, "Are you okay?" the temptation to pour it all out is overwhelming. But my friends, mastery means knowing when to open and when to hold. Mastery means resisting the comfort of collapse in favor of the strength of calibration. The weak man thinks, if I tell them everything, they'll finally understand me. But the truth is, if you tell them everything, they won't respect you. They'll pity you. And pity is poison. Respect and attraction cannot coexist with pity. On the other hand, the cold man thinks, if I say nothing, they'll never see my weakness. But in truth, if you say nothing, they'll never see you. And without seeing you, they cannot bond with you. The Stoic path is balance, controlled revelation. The kind of vulnerability that deepens respect instead of eroding it. Picture it like this. They ask, "Are you okay?" You pause, you breathe, you look them in the eye, and with calm strength you give them a piece of truth, not all of it, not none of it, but enough to let them know you are both human and unshakable. That pause alone communicates mastery. That precision alone creates mystery. They walk away not just comforted, but fascinated, because they realize this is a man who has depth, but who governs his own depth. And that realization shifts everything. Attraction grows, respect grows, desire grows, because what they now feel is not pity, not distance, but admiration. Admiration for the rarest of all qualities in a man, emotional sovereignty. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man should be upright, not kept upright." The man who overshares is not upright. He is being kept upright by others' sympathy. The man who shuts down is not upright. He is held stiff by fear. But the man who reveals just enough, who governs his own emotions with discipline, that is the man who stands upright on his own. And that is the man who draws others closer without ever begging for closeness. So remember this, the emotional probe is not about them, it's about you. It's about whether you can balance strength and softness, whether you can be both fortress and garden, whether you can be human without collapsing, vulnerable without surrendering, open without losing command. My friends, this is the final test, and if you pass it, you rise above the rest. You become unforgettable, because in a world full of men who either beg for sympathy or hide behind walls, you will stand as something rare, a man whose emotions serve him, not the other way around. And here is the affirmation I want you to write in the comments right now. I govern my emotions. Say it out loud. Live it. Breathe it. I govern my emotions. Because once you master that, you become the man no silence can break, no test can expose, no withdrawal can weaken. You become the man others follow naturally, the man they respect deeply, the man they desire endlessly. So if this resonated with you, my friends, press that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because this isn't just about passing their tests, it's about becoming the man who no longer fears being tested at all. And when you become that man, you stop chasing love, and love starts chasing you.